When a nation has almost no industrial base left, limited funding, and a war tearing through its borders, building an advanced long-range cruise missile sounds impossible. Yet Ukraine, heavily outgunned and outspent, managed to assemble a weapon powerful enough to strike deep inside Russia. They didn't rely on billion-dollar factories or cutting-edge Western technology. Instead, they pieced together a missile like a scavenger, stripping parts from old aircraft, repurposing Cold War components, and engineering a design centered on simplicity, durability, and destructive force. The result is the Flamingo, a cruise missile built from scraps that has rapidly become one of the most unpredictable and troublesome threats for Russian air defenses. The scavenger philosophy. The Flamingo's story begins in workshops that look nothing like high-tech missile assembly lines. Ukraine's engineers took a Czech trainer jet, removed its Ivchenko 25 turbofan engine, and re-engineered it into a compact power plant suitable for a cruise missile. The new airframe was built from carbon fiber, giving it the strength to endure long-range flight while keeping weight as low as possible. But even lightweight materials could not offset the biggest burden: the missile's enormous 1-ton Mark 84 class warhead. The payload is the heart of the design, a massive explosive meant for hardened structures, and its weight created a challenge modern cruise missiles rarely face. The Flamingo is simply too heavy to lift off under its own power. To compensate, Ukrainian engineers attached a solid fuel booster rocket beneath the missile. When launched, the Flamingo doesn't gently accelerate, it blasts into the air with violent force, riding a plume of solid propellant until it reaches the speed necessary for the jet engine to take over. Only then does the booster fall away, letting the missile begin its long, low, silent cruise toward the target. The sensors and guidance that keep it alive. At the tip of the Flamingo sits a pitot tube, a thin metal probe that continuously measures air pressure and calculates airspeed. Behind it lies a radome, a nose cone made from materials transparent to radar and infrared energy. This is critical because the Flamingo does not use expensive terrain-following radar, like a Tomahawk. Ukraine had neither the funds nor the facilities for such systems. Instead, they combined two affordable technologies that complement each other well. The first is GPS navigation, which works perfectly until Russia begins jamming it. The second is an inertial navigation system that uses internal sensors to calculate movement, direction, and position without relying on any outside signal. It cannot be jammed, shut down, or interfered with, making it a reliable backup even when the missile is flying blind. However, neither GPS nor inertial navigation can identify a specific target. They merely guide the missile into the general area. That is where the Flamingo's most surprising component comes in: a Soviet-era infrared seeker similar to the one used in Ukraine's Neptune anti-ship missile. Once the missile arrives near the target, the seeker activates and begins scanning for heat. Oil tanks, refinery towers, fuel pipes, and power stations glow brightly against the cold background. The Flamingo doesn't need a digital map or preloaded imagery. It simply follows the hottest signature in view, locking onto the bright white silhouette of its target and steering toward it with remarkable precision. A 70-year-old monster reborn. The Flamingo's warhead dates back decades, but its destructive power remains immense. The Mark 84 style bomb inside weighs nearly 1,000 kilograms and can be equipped with multiple fuse types. A nose fuse detonates instantly on impact, producing a massive surface explosion. A tail fuse allows delayed detonation, letting the warhead punch through concrete before exploding, ideal for refineries, bunkers, fuel storage tanks, and industrial complexes. For a munition that can cost as little as a few $1,000s to assemble from surplus parts, the effect is devastating. One successful strike is enough to shut down a major oil facility or fuel depot, causing millions in damage. How the Flamingo flies? The Flamingo's flight profile unfolds in 3 distinct stages. The first is the launch, where the booster rocket ignites and hurls the missile into the sky with brutal acceleration. Within seconds, the booster burns out, detaches, and tumbles away. That marks the beginning of the cruise phase. With its wings deployed, the Flamingo levels out and begins skimming over terrain at low altitude. Its top-mounted air intake feeds the turbofan engine while reducing the risk of debris ingestion. The GPS and inertial navigation systems guide it for hundreds or even thousands of kilometers, avoiding radar by flying low enough to hide in ground clutter. When the missile reaches the target area, the infrared seeker activates and switches the Flamingo from map-based navigation to target hunting. The seeker sees the world in shades of heat, cold ground in black and hot structures glowing white. It finds the brightest heat source matching its programmed profile, locks onto it, and begins adjusting its flight path with microsecond corrections. In these final moments, nothing else matters. Not GPS coordinates, not terrain, not jamming attempts. The missile is guided purely by the thermal image in front of it. When it touches the target, the fuse triggers and the warhead erupts with overwhelming force. A comparison with Western cruise missiles. The Flamingo is completely different from the Storm Shadow or the American Tomahawk. The Storm Shadow relies on precision mapping and has a range of around 250 kilometers. The Tomahawk uses sophisticated guidance systems and reaches up to 1,600 kilometers. The Flamingo, by contrast, is a long-range blunt instrument. It flies close to 3,000 kilometers and trades technological complexity for affordability and sheer reach. It may not have the polish of Western missiles, but it goes farther than both while carrying an enormous warhead. Why Russia fears it? The Panzer problem. Russia's Panzer air defense system is designed specifically to shoot down low-flying cruise missiles, but the Flamingo presents a challenge. These missiles often fly in groups. If Ukraine launches 4 or 5 simultaneously, the Panzer must lock onto each one, track them, and destroy them before they reach the target. It might intercept the first, maybe the second, but each launch drains its ammunition and overloads its radar. If even a single Flamingo survives the barrage, it can inflict massive damage on oil infrastructure, which forms the financial backbone of the Russian war effort. A refinery hit can take months to repair. A fuel depot loss can cripple an entire region's logistical supply. This is why a low-budget missile built from scraps has become such a strategic headache for Moscow. A weapon born from necessity. The Flamingo was not created in laboratories with billion-dollar budgets. It was created because Ukraine needed a weapon that was cheap, long-range, and devastating. By fusing recycled aircraft parts, Cold War seeker technology, modern GPS chips, and a colossal warhead, Ukrainian engineers assembled a missile that shouldn't exist on paper but works brilliantly in practice. It reflects a unique kind of wartime innovation, something built not for perfection but for survival. In a conflict where resources are scarce but creativity is abundant, the Flamingo stands as proof that even the most advanced air defenses can be overwhelmed by ingenuity. Ukraine's scrap-built cruise missile is not just a weapon, it is a message. In modern warfare, the side with the most expensive technology does not always have the advantage. Sometimes the side willing to improvise wins the edge. If you found this breakdown informative and want more high-quality engineering, military and defense analysis just like this, make sure you hit that like button. It helps the channel reach more curious minds around the world. And if you enjoy content that goes beyond the headlines and explains the technology shaping today's wars, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.